Well, good morning, everybody. Apologies for my voice once again. I'm still under the weather, but still wanted to do a live stream, hop on here and give a little bit of pre-market analysis, at least, kind of what I'm looking for the day. Kind of ugly, sloppy price action overnight, and really most of yesterday too, frankly. So we're having a hard time breaking above equilibrium here on the range. Here I am on the 4 hour. We have inversed a small 4 hour gap right here. But now rejecting off of this one. But, I'd have to see some pretty strong displacement to be convinced of more downside, even though we are bearish for sure on the 4 hour. Let's see, we're bullish on the 1 hour. Technically, we've broken structure back to the upside, but this is not. Pardon me. This is not particularly bullish, in the way it's delivering. So I could definitely see a circumstance where we head off back to the downside. When I look at the daily, what I was kind of hoping to see today was a dip lower and then a run back higher, targeting this new week opening gap right here. We may or may not get it. The DeepSeek news may turn it out to be more than what I'm kind of giving it credit for. And we could continue to sell off lower. We are open now. So we'll just have to kind of see what the market gives us. Was hoping for a downside move and then a run back to the upside, but there also is a lot of liquidity down here. Looks like there's a lot more liquidity on to the downside than there is the upside. So as usual, we'll wait our normal 10 to 15 minutes before doing anything and see what the market provides. Let's hop over to ES real quick and see if it's any clearer. Same story. It looks like it is more. It held up a lot better. I mean, so this is probably what gave me that thesis about wanting to see a run lower was ES, because look at that buy up at the end of the day. That's exactly what you want to see. Kind of parks it right at the bottom of that daily gap. And then if we move to the 4 hour, yeah, it looks, I mean, it's just a slow grind up, but also this is overnight price action. So you can't, I'm not going to put a lot of stock into it in terms of how it looks, but I will say there's a lot of good liquidity to the downside if that's what the market makers are looking for. So, still, I'd like to see a run, maybe take out these lows down here at the 32s and then a pop back higher to go take out the prior day high. But we will, again, we'll just see. Have to see what the market gives us. Apologies again for my voice, if you can even understand me. Thank you for being here. If somebody, again, by some miracle, found the stream. Credit for. And we could continue to sell off lower. We are open now. So we'll just have to kind of see what the market gives us. Was hoping for a downside move and then a run back to the upside, but there also is a lot of liquidity down here. Looks like there's a lot more liquidity on to the downside than there is the upside. So as usual, we'll wait our normal 10 to 15 minutes before doing anything and see what the market provides. Let's hop over to ES real quick and see if it's any. Wait our normal 10 to 15 minutes before doing anything and see what the market provides. Let's hop over to ES real quick and see if it's any. Wait our normal 10 to 15 minutes
sir. Where's DePaul University? Excuse me, where can I find DePaul University? DePaul is... You know, people were very willing. Even in the bitter cold, they rolled down their windows. Excuse me, where's DePaul University?
DePaul is, you just go that way.
Uh-huh. I didn't feel I was a threat. They didn't feel I was a threat. Okay, thank you. At this building, I breezed past the doorman. This one may have looked like a tough one, but they just buzzed me right on up. Thank you. When I went into makeup, but coming back as a black man, things were a little more difficult. With the very same doorman, I couldn't get in. I wanted to see if one of my partners. I want to see one of my partners upstairs. Is this Sam right here? On the 7th floor? I can't.
You can't just go in there. I gotta announce you. I need to know who you're here for. If you don't live here, I need serious information, security.
No, okay, we're gonna try this one today as a black guy. Same corner, same guy, different reactions. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, can you roll your window down? He said no. Could you roll your window down? Please? Please? How do I get to DePaul? Ladies, how do I get to DePaul? Excuse me. Ma'am?
I did forget to mention the news today. We do have consumer confidence at 9 o'clock, and then along as well as a lot of earnings this week. Boeing this morning and LMT. I'm not sure who that is. Is that might be that handbag maker? Starbucks is at noon. So no, I'm sorry, at 3. And so I think there's more of that. This pretty much this whole week, if I remember correctly. Yeah, ASML is tomorrow. Tomorrow is FOMC. I forgot. So we probably won't expect much out of today's price action, if I'm being honest, or at least not this afternoon's. So okay, just wanted to pop on and talk about that. one good thing about this morning, I will say, is that the indices are in sync right off the bat. So that's good. No guessing as to who the sixth sister is or anything like that. So hopefully, both of them are moving off lower now, and so it is kind of looking like my bias may just be completely wrong. So we'll see. All right, and I usually don't try to trade against the trend. I don't try to call counter trend, reversals. So it may come to bite me if I do try to take a long, but that's just kind of what I was hoping for, was a nice quick rundown to take out these lows and then a reversal back to the upside, seeking higher. And they still may use the 9 o'clock news to do that. But it is looking like it wants lower prices. So as I look for a little bit of AMD action, it does look like we had our accumulation during Asia, the manipulation in London, and now we're distributing lower. So, and for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'll kind of outline it. So we'd expect it to kind of do something like that. So this is a pretty typical AMD price action. Asia accumulates, just kind of consolidates, chops, goes sideways. Then you have a run up in London to take out all those highs. Well, I guess it was already taken out, but to take out this high and Asia high. And then it distributes back down to where it actually wants to go. So this is certainly something we'll want to keep in mind today as we try to identify a draw. Apologies, my headphone cord, it makes a notable sound on the mic, so I try to pin it back and isolate the sound a little bit better. Hopefully that helps. So, if you are looking for more downside, this is a potential setup right here. We just kind of dug into a couple 5-minute gaps on NQ. Now, I will say NQ is looking more stronger at the moment. So you kind of got to take that as you will, but we've dug into this gap and we've tapped this gap, which, as if you've listened, which you haven't because nobody has, you know that that's a favorable setup of mine where we go and tap a premium gap and then slam back down. Now I think I'm still favoring upside. I think so. I likely won't take this, but an inversion of this 1-minute gap here, which I did a terrible job of laying out. An inversion of this 1-minute gap here would signify lower prices inbound. So that could be a potential take if you are looking for more downside. A pretty typical setup for me. Yes, actually quite a bit weaker here. We do have news in 5 minutes, however. So probably just be sitting on my hands personally till after that. I will say this is a nice little move higher. If we break structure, my original thesis of taking out these lows and then running back higher, it looks pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see for now. It does look like my original thesis is kind of playing out, of a run lower before looking for higher prices. The problem is we just have not gotten an opportunity for entry necessarily, especially with that news at 9 o'clock. It's just prudent to wait for high impact news. If you're jumping in before, it kind of, I don't know, it seems certainly more 50-50 regardless of what your narrative and entry suggest. So really haven't got a retracement of any kind. It definitely looks like it's going for those London highs, and it's tapped equilibrium so many times now that has me thinking that it's going to rip higher too. So, or at least it's hovered around equilibrium, that it does look like it wants to probably expand higher to me. Again, my initial target is that new week opening gap, which corresponds with the prior day high up there. Now, that is 400 points higher, 420 points higher. So it's not likely we reach that today, but that is what I would like to see. Funny enough, NQ quite a bit stronger here, which has been the opposite of what's been going on lately. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I will be looking for an entry long at this point. The 5-minute has inversed a 15-minute gap, which is kind of what I was looking for. But the problem is it has also taken this this liquidity up here. So I don't know, kind of tough PA this morning, but we'll see. We'll see where it takes us. So what I'm looking for right now is a rundown into this gap, this 5-minute gap. I'd really like to see it dig in, maybe even come down to the midnight open, and then to come back up. And if I switch over to the 1 minute time frame, to inverse this gap with some conviction, this 1 minute gap with some conviction back to the upside. So that's currently what I'm looking for, but it has to tap the gap. So we don't get a gap tap, we don't get a trade. So that's what we're looking for right now. Well, it looks like the analysis was spot on this morning, guys. I didn't find an entry, unfortunately. It just kind of ran without us. I looked back to kind of see if I could, if I made a mistake somewhere. I don't really think so. Even down here, if you're looking at to be super aggressive and look for a 1 minute inverse, you're still pre-news here, and then there's the news candle. So they kind of hid behind the news candle or the news, and then just ran it up. There might have been. So this is where I was looking to get long right here on this only really retracement. The problem is that I can't get long without a retap of this 5 minute gap because, as we know, market moves from ERL to IRL, external range liquidity to internal range liquidity. And so after it had taken out this high, I would have expected the next move to be internal range liquidity, which this first one would be, the first major one would be this 5 minute gap. It didn't come and touch it. And as I explained, my confirmation would have been an inversion of this 1 minute gap. So it panned out perfectly. The only problem is it didn't touch our gap. It didn't give our first requirement for a trade. So, and you can look at this two ways. ICT talks about price when it's. I think he talks about it in terms of one-sided distribution when price is delivering in a certain direction and it's not coming back and touching gaps. That's a pretty bullish scenario. I don't know if that necessarily fits for this morning, like a one-sided distribution, one-sided delivery, because we ran down. We had pretty big manipulation down and then a run back up. So it was kind of early innings still. So for me, I wanted to see the tap of that 5 minute gap. And because if this is left open, this is 100% a valid objective for price to come back in. And so if I take a long here and price comes out and takes out this high and then decides it wants to come back and tap that 5 minute gap, then that's 100% valid. And so it just is a lot lower probability to me. And so that was just a little bit about my thesis. But I mean, my goodness, I don't know if it gets any better call out than that. I mean, we talked about it this morning pre-market, wanting to see the market run down, drive these lows, and then distribute back up. And that's exactly what it did. There was some talk. We did talk about this being potentially manipulation during London to drive lower, but overall, my bias, and I explained a little bit about this being out of the norm for me, my bias was higher. And so that's kind of where we're at. I don't know how much dry powder we've got in the market. Yesterday was such a big day. FOMC's tomorrow. I don't expect a huge delivery today, but I could be completely wrong. So we'll see. We'll see what the market does with these London highs. ES is now taking those as well, so no SMT potential there. So yeah, I mean, great analysis. Just couldn't get our entry, unfortunately. I do think I will try a long here on the inversion of this 1 minute gap on NQ. My only concern is we are firmly within consolidation territory, accumulation. And so that's the only thing I'm looking at here. But I think everything's kind of setting up to be a pretty good trade back to the upside. Other than, the RR is a little bit tough at the moment. As y'all know, I prefer a higher RR. And so especially depending on where this finishes, when it inverses, may have to wait for a retap, but I'm not exactly sure yet where my stop is going to go. It might go under this wick. It might go under the 1037 wick. So we will see. ES does appear to be a little bit stronger at the moment. It's holding up a little bit better. I do, however, like the gap on NQ better, and I don't think the difference is enough that I'm going to concern myself with it. But ES is certainly just slightly stronger. I think it's probably going to reach that relative high first. So but I also wouldn't even feel good taking on ES until NQ is also inversed this gap. And how it inverses, it matters. I mean, like right now, it's not looking, I'm not loving the way it's inversing. So, whereas the ES, it already inversed its same gap, and it did it very strong. So, again, ES is looking a little bit better here. So really now what I'd like to see, I think, on NQ is, given how it's handling this gap, I would really like to see it actually come back down into the 5 minute, tap the equilibrium, and then come back up to inverse this gap. But I don't know if we're going to get it or not. If I get a sudden energetic reaction out of this retap, I may consider it, but I don't like the resistance that this 1 minute gap is currently providing. We really do want to see it kind of slice through like ES did. But that's such a sorry gap too on ES that, but it did just kind of slice right through it. Okay, we're getting a little bit of movement. Come on. We wanted to come back down, grab this gap, create some resting liquidity higher. I'm sorry, grab the CE of this gap right down here at the 408s. That would make me feel a lot better about this trade at this point. Here's equilibrium as well. It's been a hot spot. See that reaction. Now, what I'd really like to see if ES comes down and takes out this low at 1036. Did I say ES? I meant NQ. If NQ comes down and takes this low at 1036 and ES doesn't, that would be a great signal as well. We're getting some pretty good buying off of equilibrium. Macro coming in 6 minutes. So that's something we'll keep an eye on as well. There we go. Come on, send it down there. Okay, there is the consequent encroachment of the 5-minute gap. Also, I haven't checked. Okay, and a tap of the 15 too. So that's great. That's great news. Is this the first 15-minute gap tap since we've been open? No, it's not. The opening candle had one. There's the CE of the 15-minute as well. So, okay, I'll feel a lot better about any trade heading off higher now. If our draw is still higher, that is. Let's see what it does. I mean, this is pretty standard, T-Trade's box setup. I think I've mentioned that before. Credit to him for explaining it in a really simple way to understand. Go check out that video from him if you haven't. But you really do need to train your eye to look for a period of consolidation, of accumulation, and then manipulation down before distributing again. And this looks like it could potentially be setting up for that. So we'll see. We need to get, for me, that means I need some inversions to work off of. So I've got one here, but this is the daddy one up here at the 1033 candle. That's the one that held price down. That's the one that sent price lower to take that low out. So I will need an inversion of that to signify higher prices to me.
All other circuit breakers are in canopy.
Pardon me. I do have Boom Aerospace. It is another test flight of their XB1 supersonic passenger prototype. But I think they're gonna try to break the speed of sound for the first time. And so, yeah, first supersonic flight. So that's kind of exciting. So I do have that on in the background. I think their airliner is gonna be called the Overture, but they're trying to bring back supersonic passenger flight like what we had with the Concorde. But I think my understanding is they're trying to solve for that supersonic boom issue that made the Concorde sort of go away, along with a couple other factors. But yeah, if they can get rid of the boom and they can do it in an efficient manner, I mean, that's super exciting. What's funny about that is I think if you look back at the old Concorde commercials, they had like the who's who flying on it, and Trump was one of the people. So my concern now is that ES is looking quite a bit stronger um, than NQ, and we could 100% have a SMT off of the. Oh, we do have an SMT off the bottom too. Dang it! Of course, there's no entry. There really wasn't anything to do there. I mean, NQ is just being held down so much more than ES is, so we could get an SMT off the top 100%. I may it's just not a big RR, not big enough. Hmm. I mean, this is one of my typical setups on on NQ. So if you're just, I mean, if you're looking to learn something, certainly take note of this pattern. Higher time frame, we're bullish. We have a sharp retracement back into a 5 or a 15-minute gap. Start to come out of it. Start to think maybe we're reversing, and then a dig even deeper. Hit the CE. Now, what we want to see is it to sort of, without hesitation, rocket out of it, inverse any gaps on the way up. Ideally, come back and retest those gaps, and then continue higher. That's kind of our ideal setup, but it is not looking like NQ is wanting to play ball. Okay, there goes the high on ES. So we do have a pretty significant SMT between ES and NQ. ES has taken high of day where NQ has not. So if we start to get a sharp displacement down, that may be all she wrote for our bullish thesis in the interim anyway. But as I mentioned, I don't know how much powder we have today, given that FOMC is tomorrow, given that we had like a 1,200 point move yesterday. So as far as like full pulls, I'm definitely tempering my expectations on today. I just don't know how much oomph we've got.
Order filled.
Sorry, I was talking into a muted mic. So I am taking on NQ here. I took super light. I frankly don't trust it. I'm in with 1 micro because we do have that SMT off the top already. So I'm in at 53.50. Honestly, I may just go break even at high of day and just kind of see where it takes us, if anywhere. If it ends up digging into this gap, if this gap gets formed, I may take another at the CE. But yeah, we'll see. Keep in mind, NQ is the weaker, certainly the weaker between the two. So, all right, so there's about 20 points, just a skosh under 20. I would probably expect it to hit high of day at this point. Although, again, with the S&T, there's really no telling. Although, oh my gosh, look at ES. ES is just ripping. We're only at 18 points stop, so I'm not, that's $36. I'm not terribly concerned about it. But that SMT is starting to look kind of like a stumbling block here. Let's see if there's a higher time frame. No, I would assume. I would think that ES is headed up to 89 now. Oh boy, yep.
Order filled.
All right, I just put another on, but I think I'm gonna get wrecked on this one. Yep. Yepers.
Order filled.
Yep. Stopped out. So take note of that SMT off the top. It's going to be pretty important if it holds. If we start to get a pretty big move down, I may look for lower. We don't have a good 5 minute. I guess we have this one. And so that's why you don't try to trade the weaker asset, whichever direction you're headed, frankly. A lot of times, not a lot, I don't know. I don't have the stats on it, but it's an area where you can get kind of hit. So something to keep in mind. Pretty significant BPR here at the 41s. So something we'll keep an eye on. This could have been a shakedown to kind of stop everybody out on the way up before going to take high of day. Well, passed on another long there. Definitely thought about it on the inversion of this 1 minute gap at 11:01, but things just kind of slowing down here. I still expect NQ to go revisit high of day. But it is definitely slow at this point.
Historic moment when the XB1 goes faster than the speed of sound for the very first time. It'll be the first civil aircraft to break the sound barrier since Concorde. And I'm joined here today by my good friend Greg Crowland, and also by my other good friend Nick Sharika, who's down on the fence line. But Greg, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Yeah, my name is Greg Crowland. I was Boom's chief engineer for the XB1 aircraft during much of its design, build, and test phases. So I'm incredibly excited to be here with you today, share some insights about the aircraft and the mission that we're going to perform. And the mission today is a big one. XB1 is the first independently developed supersonic jet. And today is the day that we're going to go supersonic for the first time on this aircraft. The plan is to accelerate the plane to Mach 1.1, about 10% faster than the speed of sound. I'm now going to throw it down to Nick Sharika, down at the fence line, to see the aircraft.
Hey there, my name is Nick Sharika. I'm the Chief Flight Test Engineer for Boom Supersonic. That means I've been involved
I think I'm going to take another stab long at the inversion of this 1 minute gap here on NQ. Let me get over to it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Right about there. If it does inverse, I think we're going to go ahead and try that long again. Very light. I'm just not interested in putting on a lot of risk today. This price action is not good.
Order filled.
So I am long at the 39s. I'm going to put a stop. I'm going to give it a little room here. Just under 400. Target. 1-to-1 is, so that's the problem here, is a lot of these trades are just not the RR I look for. So yes, it's coming into this 15-minute gap as well, but my thesis is that that NQ is holding this 5-minute gap. Left and right, kind of making me think that it does want to go back up and grab the high of day, but we'll see. This is just really poor price action, but we do have a macro coming up. Pardon me, guys. I'm still a little bit under the weather. Do have a macro coming up, so maybe that'll propel us higher. But it's also been a very vindictive market today. Very vindictive. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. We're also getting SMT flips here. We're now off the bottom. NQ is a little bit stronger than ES. That's also a surefire recipe for bad price action when the indices are constantly flipping as to who's stronger. So, not really what you want. You can kind of see some energy injected in, some volatility injected in at that 11:50 Eastern time. We're just hoping that it goes our way and not the opposite direction. Kind of looking like maybe not. Yeah, it looks like we're going to get stopped out here. Pardon me, guys. Yep, straight down. That is crazy. This price action is just so back and forth, guys. I don't, not really sure what you do with this, honestly. Came within a take a stop of me out. Now it seems to be coming back up. I just, I don't know. I don't know what you do with this, honestly. That's some gnarly price action there, folks. You need to keep heading off higher if it's going to. If price action hadn't been so poor, this is kind of where you'd want to be adding to your position, but I do not trust this at all, especially with FOMC tomorrow. Maybe pop out to the higher time frame here and kind of see what some next targets might be. Probably that 507 area. Or maybe just straight up at 500, 499. That may be where I take it off. If we get there. So we're up almost 30 points, not quite 30 points. Okay, we're up about 30 points here. I'm going to go ahead and move to break even, or I guess just right under break even. I'm not really interested in keeping a bunch of risk on now, especially with how price has been. But overall, I mean, that's a 30-point run so far. It's a good trade, a little over 30 points. Coming up on to high a day for NQ. I'm shooting for 499 is where I've got my limit set. I think that's a good psych level. I think that corresponds with on the hourly for another gap up there. 49 is a 4-hour gap fill, so we do have to keep that in mind. But yeah, risk is essentially off. I am a little bit under break even just because of what the chart's given me. I'm kind of like right in the middle of a gap on my entry, and so I want to be a little bit below that gap, but I'm just about 7 points under break even. So hope we see an acceleration here through the high. Just kind of head straight up to our target area there. And there's high a day for us. I am going to go ahead and move to break even now. See if we can't pump and get a little bit higher up there. There's the gap fill at 489. That's a pretty big spot, pretty big area. Let's see what ES is doing. ES is not taking that high yet. It did slightly inverse this 15-minute gap, so I would expect higher for that as well, unless it's just a little bit of tomfoolery going on. NQ accelerating nicely. Having a hard time getting too much past that gap fill.
Order filled.
I'm going to go ahead and take that off at the 493s. Back in profit on the day after our first loss, and that was about half the size as well. So it was half the size of the first trade. So that was a really good trade, 39 to 93. So what is that? Close to 40 something points. Or is that 50 points? I guess that is 50 points. Yeah, 50 something points. So took a L earlier on. Again, just a super vindictive market. No idea what it wanted to do. Earlier on, got a little bit of confirmation, survived. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. I was like a tick away from getting stopped out because the low here on this washout candle was 400. So I was a point away from getting stopped out because my stop I think was right at 399. I think it was a little bit above 399. So I mean it was right there. So that is I can count on one hand how many times that's happened to me. Thought for sure this was an L, ran all the way back up. We were in the macro, we knew we'd be seeking liquidity, but that tells you right there that this is a vindictive market. You got to play defense on days like today. We have FOMC tomorrow. Huge move yesterday. Just certainly not ideal conditions. Getting a little bit of a retrace here on NQ into the 1 minute gap. Kind of pushing off higher, potentially looking for that 500 psych level. So, yeah, pretty wild trade. We are back in the green for the day. Small green, but I'll take it. And I am going to call it. That's 2 trades for me. Not seeing price super well, or I don't know if I'm not seeing price well, or the market's just not cooperating. I kind of think the latter because we did call it pretty darn well this morning. If you guys remember, just to recap. Came in on stream right before open. We were kind of wanting to move down to take out Asia lows and then run back higher because we were bullish on the day, and that's exactly what happened. So we just didn't get an opportunity for entry necessarily on NQ. I'm sure some of y'all did. Again, I've said this before. I'm very cautious. I do miss a lot of trades. That's just kind of my nature and how I trade, and I'm okay with it. So if you could find an entry on this way back up, starting at about 9:45 Eastern, that's awesome. Kudos to you. I just, with my entry criteria, couldn't find anything. Did finally take something on the retrace, and then just got slapped for a stop. So glad we can make it up today. Always trying to play defense on days like today. And we'll see where the rest of the day goes. We could continue to rally. Again, I'm skeptical of how much gunpowder we've got, but we'll see. So as always, thank you guys for joining the stream. If by some miracle you did find this stream, and we'll be back same time tomorrow morning. We do have FOMC in the afternoon, so not expecting a lot until Thursday, but y'all stay safe, play defense. See you next time.